Something about Alicia Keys' note being scrubbed from the online uploads makes me very uncomfortable. If you watch the Super Bowl with Usher's halftime performance, then you know it was all the way live. He had some of our faves, including hit songs like Caught Up and Yeah, and he also featured people like Jermaine Dupri, Ludacris, Her, and Little John. But his surprise feature guest in Alicia Keys donning a red sequin jumpsuit and fierce looking piano left a lot to be desired. But you would only know that if you were watching live. Because after the broadcast was uploaded online, the voice crack at the start of If I Ain't Got You was scrubbed from the telecast. Some people want it all. Some I want to start this video off by saying that I can only imagine what type of pressure and adrenaline was going through at the time of performing on the Super Bowl. They said this was one of the most seen, most viewed Super Bowls in history. And I can only imagine what type of energy, what type of feelings and nerves are going on right before you take the stage. Live singing is so hard. And I don't think people realize how much you have to train and get your body ready to be a part of it. I have done tons of musicals in front of a lot of crowds with a mic very close to my mouth. And I have cracked, I have messed up, I have been flat. There have been all kinds of things that have happened in live performances. I remember doing a talent show one time. I was singing this song and I never forget, I had practiced and practiced and practiced. There was one section of the song that was particularly hard for me. This particular section seemed like it was so high and so hard. It is not. When I go back and listen to it, I'm like, this is not that high. But at the time I was struggling with it and then I cracked. Like bad, y'all. Like to the point where people in the audience were like, like it was a real moment. So yeah, live singing is so tough. So I have so much respect for Usher and for all of the folks who will perform live without, because it's very tough, especially when you're running, you're dancing, you're roller skating. Like, it's a lot on the body. We really want performers. We want people to be triple and quadruple threats. So I don't know that it's fair to Alicia or anyone else to really care that much to hold a standard if we're not going to keep that same energy across the board. And while I do think it's admirable for Alicia to sing live, I don't know if she was as prepared as she could have been for that type of pressure, because in that moment, you have so many eyes on you. It's an opportunity where many times artists who perform at the Super Bowl, their streaming skyrockets, right? Their sales skyrocket, their tours skyrocket. Usher released his tour dates shortly after so that you could purchase tickets to come see him live. So it's a very big promotional opportunity, even if the performers don't actually get paid for the Super Bowl. It's a very big promotional opportunity for their careers. And so to have a moment like that broadcast to the world, I can only imagine a bit of the embarrassment, and especially in this age where you can replay things 100 different times and people will continue uploading versions of it. However, something about Alicia Keys' note being scrubbed from the online uploads, the official ones by the Super Bowl and by Apple Music, makes me very uncomfortable. For one, it removes the raw authenticity of what actually happened. For two, it changes what actually happened. And this is something that I don't want to fearmonger. I'm not trying to conspiracy theorist here in terms of how you feel about something. But we should all be very concerned at the ability to control what people hear and see after a live event happens. If you were watching live, you heard this note go a little askew before she recovers. The fact that that's scrubbed from the internet, or that it's scrubbed from the official accounts of something, is very concerning. I think it's incredibly dangerous when you see how much power media has to control how you think, to control what you see. And think about it this way, right? Adjusting notes after making an edit in a note is not that big a deal. I don't care if an album uses auto-tune to correct someone's sound. Of course, I'm gonna be disappointed when I see them live, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. We've made edits of, curse words and things after the fact. So I don't think that that's a threat. But where I really struggle is the idea that we could all witness something happen, whether it be on video, whether it be in real life. There were people actually at the game that heard everything, and that they can get online and it be completely changed. That's a massive gaslighting of an entire mass, and imagine the implications of that for things like political power, for things like crimes against humanity, for things that could be really, really destructive in a culture that's already incredibly divided. What other instances has our country, has the world revised history and that impacted the way that things develop? Really easy one: chattel slavery in the United States, right? It is still Black History Month after all. And I think it's important to realize that we have people right now trying to suppress the information of what actually happened during slavery, during things like the Holocaust. I mean, heck, even current events, things that have happened more recently, people are trying to change what actually happened. And there are people who are yelling on podcast mics and on shows, even mainstream news, that are talking about what happened, and you hear the version, you're like, that's not what happened at all. Ways that we interpret and receive and consume media is super important. Of course, there are places that, claim to be independent that you can kind of get your news from or get your experiences from. And I'm a huge fan of, like, if something comes out in the news or the media, I tend to go to the independent sources to kind of look and see, okay, how are all of the news folks talking about this information? We don't always think about that in entertainment. We don't think about it in celebrity news or in like our favorite, performers or producers or what have you, because, that's not a big deal until it is, right? Until you have Taylor Swift with, dark pornographic images being pushed through Twitter that are actually not of her, but of some AI version. So this is actually a conversation that's going to continue to be had. And I don't think we can bury our heads in the sand and say, oh, like, who cares? Everything is fake. Everything is marketing. Everything is branding. But like, history is history. And when we forget our history, we don't know our history, we are doomed to repeat it. This is not new, what I'm presenting. Like, this is not a new idea. But I think what is new is the personal responsibility that we have to cipher and discern through what we're being presented. There's never been a time in history that we've been getting so much information, so much false information, that we actually have to be able to parse through. And media literacy is it's at an all-time low because we have so much stuff coming at us all the time. So I do think that if things are changing and morphing with technology and the ways that it moves, we have to be willing to develop our senses beyond just what we see and what we hear. We cannot take anything at face value, and it's always deeper than what it seems. But if you're on this channel, then you probably know that my channel is dedicated to deciphering and discerning media messaging as it pertains to redeeming our cultural redemption in media. And so I'm incredibly intrigued by this conversation. I'd love to talk to you more about it in the comments below. What are your thoughts about what can be scrubbed from the record, the official record, versus what is the truth? Like, what are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about Alicia Keys and Usher's performance at the Super Bowl? I would love it if you would like this video and subscribe if you found it valuable, and definitely leave me a comment down below to let me know your thoughts.